This here is my car that's far too close to that hedge. This is my daily driver. This is a Volvo S60 2013 D4. Now, I've always wanted one of these cars. I love the shape of this car. I'm really happy I got it, but it hasn't been cheap ownership. I've had to put several tires on it. I've had to put 2 sets of rear brakes on it, a set of front brakes on it, a wheel because I hit a pothole. And since then, it's also now developed an engine running problem. I've known about it for a while. I think I've finally figured out what's wrong with it. And it is now got suspension noise. I believe the top mounts have gone. I wouldn't be surprised if a spring is broken as well. And on top of that, the driver's side seatbelt doesn't always release. You don't need me to tell you why that's a problem. And winter has not really been kind to it. I've not washed it over the winter, so it could really do with a clean. Now, again, this is my daily, and the Mini is still not roadworthy, so I have to get this car fixed in one go. And that's going to be interesting because I'm not sure what I'm about to encounter doing the suspension on this car. I've read online that people say it's a right pain in the butt, but it's basically a Ford Mondeo underneath, and I can't see why that's going to be too much of a problem. But if any of you done mechanics, you now know I've just jinxed the entire operation here by saying that's not going to be a problem.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
The symptom I'm getting is the check EML light on the dash. The main problem I'm having is code P00BD, which basically means the sensor is seeing too much air entering the engine and it goes into limp mode. And you can just about hear the suspension. How it knocks from lock to lock. So I got to deal with that. So what I noticed was, even when I looked at the car, I noticed all this oil around the intake manifold area. And I did a smoke test on it, and there was smoke coming out of this nipple here and from this EGR kind of pipe down here, crankcase ventilation pipe. So I've sealed those up, but you can still see all the oil that keeps reappearing. And then what I did was, when the engine was running, I got the screwdriver in, and you can see the split. You can see how it's splitting right there. So I've got a cracked intake manifold, really worse around this corner here. So you can see with the screwdriver how there's that much deflection in there. And so what I've understood after some research, what I know is this is really a common problem with these intake manifolds. And because it's a common problem with the intake manifold, I kind of don't want to buy a second-hand one because it's probably going to have the same issue. And another one off of somewhere like Autodoc, even they want £250 for a new intake manifold. So I thought, well, why not clean it up and try to use some glue? So that's what I'm going to do now. First thing I'd do is take the intake pipe off and then somehow navigate my way around those fuel injecting pipes. Taking this intake pipe off is really easy. There's a couple of Jubilee clips, 7 mils. One's down here that goes to the turbo, one on the PCV valve, and now obviously you've got the one on the MAF sensor there. So just undone those, and it comes off of a rubber grommet, one sensor wire to remove, and there we go. That really needs a clean. Oh, there we go. Now I've took the intake pipe off and cleaned it up. You can actually see a crack right there. See where it's cracked right in front of me, and it runs over a little bit. I don't think I might not even have to bother with the area behind the intake, the fuel pipes, because the flexing seems to stop around there. So I may get away with it. I just might have to do from about here to about there. Nope, time to prepare it. So the reason I chose to drill the V-groove into this is just basically more surface area. It gives more area for the glue, the plastic weld I'm about to use to actually adhere to. I can actually smush it into the manifold and get a better seal. That's why I chose to do that. All right, all prepared. So I've ended up cutting from about here all the way down there to about up here. As when you flex it, you can see just how far the crack went. Right there. So just cleaned it up, gonna wait for that to dry off, and then I'll put the glue in. Got me some of these sculpting tools as well. That is really catching that light, isn't it? I've got me some of this silicone sculpting tools, spudges, whatever you want to call them. It's gonna try and help me, you know, actually get the glue up and on there. So speaking of the glue, the best thing I seem to have found is this JB Weld plastic bonder. Apparently goes, you know, tacky in 15 minutes and you can sand it in half an hour. So because it needs a bit of time to set up, I'm going to do it now before I do the suspension. A good mix up, mixy. I'm glad I bought this spatula down now. I'm honestly not that bothered about a nice clean finish though. I am definitely in a function over form mood at the minute with this. Also trying to be mindful of the fact I don't want to actually push it too much into the intake manifold. I just want to push it into the V groove I cut. So the reason of cutting that groove was to help this get more surface area to actually bite in. So I'm just going to keep manipulating it around. It's already getting a bit thicker actually. I did take the car up for a quick drive before I started doing this just to warm up the engine bay. And but what I really mean by that is I didn't have enough release spray to do the suspension, so I had to nip out the Halfords and get some. Because someone who starts a suspension job without enough release spray is going to be in for a world of hurt. I feel it getting tacky already, so I probably want to stop manipulating it any moment now and leave it to set up. It's almost like doing a tyre repair with the vulcanizing rubber. More is more. I suppose I'll leave that to set now. So the R design model has this strut brace that goes between the two top mounts. It's really easy to take off. Just remove the plastic covers and then a couple of 13 mils. So that's one of the 3 bolts that hold the top mount in. Really easy to remove. And then it's just the plastic cowling for the scuttle panel basically. I didn't remove the whole thing, I just wanted to remove enough to get access to the remaining bolts. And I did almost lose one of the plastic clips, there I am, but I found it in the end. So this driver's side, no obvious sign of a broken spring, but I'm glad I got all that release spray. It looks quite, it just looks dirty really. It doesn't look rusty. So just trying to get the wire brush, clean up a lot of this dirt, cover everything in lubricating fluid, penetrating fluid, and get this suspension off. So beginning the job, I chose to remove the brakes themselves because I knew I was going to be pulling the whole hub away from the vehicle. I didn't want to put any stress on that brake hose. And then anti-roll bar here, really simple to do with an Allen key socket and a spanner, just stops it from spinning, easily removed. I did buy some spares just in case I needed it, but I didn't need it on the end. And then the pinch bolt for the strut itself, you can see how tight it was. The gun did not even touch it. I have to use the breaker bar, a lot of negotiating, and then once it was broken off, I could use the gun. Finally, the track rod end here, again, really tight. One trick you do is put the jack underneath it, forces the taper up into the knuckle, and then on and off with the nut with a bit of release spray to clean it off so it doesn't start spinning. Then again, hit it with a hammer, loosen it off, and then one final hit, away it goes. I did choose to remove the lower arm because I couldn't get enough downward deflection to get the rest of the strut out, so I had to remove the lower arm. I'm just removing it from the back bolts here. This is a decision that ends up biting me in the butt. I really tried to avoid removing the bottom ball joint, but in the end I would have had to do that. Just a pry bar, release it from its mounts. It is quite tight, and a few hits with the hammer, just the last bit, and away the strut goes, and now I can remove the last few bolts from the top, away it goes. So here's one of the struts, and it seems I was wrong. It doesn't seem like there's a broken spring. Looking around it, there is no broken spring on this. I thought it might have been up here, or at the bottom I could feel a sharp spike, but it's just the end of the spring. But as you can see quite clearly, the top mount is really crusty. It's actually collapsed right there. So that's going to have been the problem. And I can barely even move it by hand. It's completely collapsed. So I've just bought entirely new for a suspension, as I wasn't sure what the damage was going to be, and I have to get it done. So yeah, I've got new springs, new struts. I've even got new gaiters and new top mounts, so I'm gonna get those built. And then I can just bolt them straight onto the car. Make life a bit easier. The thing I'm really not looking forward to is, with springs, you need to get it to fit this big, right? think it's quite obvious. This is bigger than that. So you need to compress them. Normally in a workshop you'd have this wonderful hydraulic machine that'll compress it down really easy, or you'll have a big thing you can put into a vise. But for the second time in my life I need to use these, affectionately known as the Widowmaker. They hook onto the springs like normal, and you got to bolt them up. You just do them up there, and they take a very long time, and you have to be really careful that you do it evenly, or else you're going to put too much stress on one side and it could pring off. No one likes using these. This is another reason why I just bought fresh springs, rather than having to compress the old ones, take them off, uncompress them, compress the new ones, put them on, uncompress them. I just thought, you know what, I'm not about that life. Trying to building some springs up. Now that the shock absorber's at full extent, you can see how much this is going to have to compress. So that's on there, using the old one as a reference. I'm going to put the gator on. Uh, 118 OS 108. So the top mounts don't seem to be sided. Pump stop goes in there. Okay. Spring compressing time. Well, first of all, I want to figure out which side is the top and which side is the bottom. And that seems to fit nicely in there. And that side seems to fit nicely on the pump stop. That one's loose. That one's nice and tight. It's going to go in that way. And that's going to be the top. Now all the prep work is done. I'm just getting the coil compressors ready to go. I really didn't like using these, but they're not that bad. Just getting them tight to begin with by hand, and then the battery gun comes on. It's, like I said, you have to be really careful to wind them in evenly. Quick test fit, not compressed enough, so I need to compress it a bit more, and then you can see I can get the top mount on, get the bolt, get the nut on the top mount ready so it is safe. Now if those coil compressors do give up, it won't prang off, it will get stuck on the top mount. And you can see now I can't fit the gun on it anymore, so I have to use hand tools, spanners and sockets to remove the last of the coil compressors, and eventually it all comes off and they're seated. What a pain this has been. Putting that lower arm back on was really quite difficult. I didn't want to split the bottom ball joint because I didn't want to damage it, but in the end I had to, just to get the strut in place. And the camera got full, the camera battery ran out, it then got really windy, it then started to rain, and now it's the next day. Despite me wanting to do it in one day, it's now the next day, it's now Sunday, but it's all back on and back together. That was really annoying, but I'm gonna have to change the bottom arms at some point anyway, so I at least now know how to go about this. I'm sorry I got no footage of it. To be honest, it wouldn't have been good footage. It would have just been me rolling around, getting scratched by hedges and swearing a lot. But you know, if you wanted to see that kind of footage, let me know. But this is all back together now. I just need to put the wheels on. You can see how windy it is. Just got to put the wheels back on, build the top back up, and then I ain't going to do the seatbelt today. It's apparently meant to be sunny again tomorrow. I'll do the seatbelt tomorrow. I've got a week off from work, so yeah, get the wheels back on, torque them up to 140 Newton meters, I believe, on a Volvo, and then take it for a test drive. I really need new wheels on this. These wheels, these Ixion 2, I believe they are. I really like the look of them, but the ones I've got are all corroded, bubbled, damaged, chipped, buckled. They're in really bad condition. They're not even worth refurbishing, I don't think. So I need some new wheels on it. I was looking at some Romac Venoms, I think they're called, Romac Venoms. They look something similar. Quite like the look of those. And then some new tyres to go on it. You can see a bit of camber wear, or a bit of towing wear by the looks of it on these ones. But I ain't got the money for them at the minute. Simple as that. I ain't got the money for new wheels and tyres. So That'll have to be next at some point. See, torque the wheels up. Not like that guy who did my puncture repair on the side of the road and just gunned them like he was in some kind of active war zone or something. Man, he just had the biggest gun and went absolutely berserk on them. They're like 250 Newton meters. It was so hard to break them off in the end. Torque your wheels up, don't gun them up. Refitting the intake pipe, really straightforward. Put it back in its grommets, get the sensor plugged back in, and then do up the Jubilee clamps. But there is a problem with the Jubilee clamp. The Jubilee that holds on the intake pipe to the airbox is just broke, and I don't have a spare, so well, it's not the end of the world. It can run. Quick check of the cam belt. It's alright, not getting too old. I do want to change that at some point because I haven't got any history of it. So I do want to get that cam belt replaced myself at some point. Probably when the next big service is due, I'll get the cam belt on it. And finally, for the last point, is just to put the straight brace back on. I did make sure to tighten the center bolt of the top mount, put the straight brace back on, plastic covers go back on them, engine cover, and then the engine compartment seal. Alright, the last thing to do now is to change this seat belt. Normally, you'd probably take the seat out, but I really can't be bothered with that. So I'm going to try and just unbolt the seat, maybe roll it back or forward, and try to get to the belt buckle from there. Just doesn't look that bad. Looks like 4 13mm bolts hold it in, which is nice. On the Clio, it was like some spline torque socket, which is always annoying. But these are just normal nuts and bolts. So I'm going to do the back first, I think. Get the ones out the back done first, then do the front and maybe roll it forward or backward on its runners, because I gotta try and get to that seatbelt buckle. And the center console's in the way. So that's the stuff I'm trying to avoid having to take off. There's a couple of cable ties and then a plug. So hopefully this should be relatively straightforward. Got the new part now. Feels a lot better than what I've got at the minute. Yeah. Looks like I need another seatbelt at some point as well. That runner's a bit lazy, but one problem at a time. Let's get this seat out. Okay, so seems to be running down here and into here, and then it must be going on the back there. So I need to find out. I'll take that off. Looks like a T20 and a big old bolt on that there. A little. All right. Plug I'm trying to get to is that green one there. How does it lock in? And the thing is, it might lock in that side, but then it'd be locked in on this side as well, I imagine. Has that bolt got to do anything? Is that what's keeping the multi-plug together? It might be. Goes through the other side. So I wonder if it's worth taking that off. It's like a 7. Yeah, I'm splitting that up. All right, that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be so far. And then does that just push out? We'll probably have some locking tags on it somewhere. Blue, orange. Ford badge. Alright, that's that one. It's pretty handy, the pick can push the tagget in at the same time as pulling the thing out. In, hook it up, and out it comes. So, blue, orange. Looks like they've got mechanical locking on them, so I can't get them the wrong way around them, possibly. Now I just need to follow you round. Getting everything off the seat now, it's just a little T30 if I remember correctly to remove this bottom bit of trim, easy enough to come off. I had to get it off so I could get to the rest of the cable ties that hold the seatbelt sensor in place. You can see here I'm just navigating and identifying what wires are which. Get the cutters on it, they're just mini cable ties, making a mental note of where they all went. And then it was the last ones just down the side of the seat. That's everything loose, I just now need to try and get on the bolt. Let's see what my options are. Oh, these gloves are shocking. These gloves are shocking. So, what I ended up doing was just leaning the seat all the way forward. So the backrest is I've leant the backrest all the way forward and then pulled the seat all the way back. And now I can get to this bolt. These are normally quite tight. I don't like taking chances with them because when they start rounding off, you start getting into quite a lot of problems. So that's the old one off. Now I just need to put the new one in, fish the wire down to begin with. Still got some red Loctite on it. I think I'll put some fresh red Loctite on that. Okay. Think about positioning then. Where's that wire? That goes around there. Alright. Start it by hand first. And then give it the beans with the gun. There you go. Right, reassembly is going to be the opposite of removal. Alright, first step then will probably be to put the seat back forward again. What's that getting stuck on? Wirings. There we go. And now on to the last part of reassembly. You can see I'm just repositioning the wires, making a mental note where they all went again, getting cable ties in place, just getting them all sorted. Then I'm going to finish the block connector off, do that back up, cut any of the wire cable tie tails off, plastic trim back on, and then bolt the seat back into place, put the covers on, and that is done. Oh, it's so obvious that smoker you saw in this car. I mean, I've smoked in my past. I don't smoke anymore, and I can smell it so clearly. And done. All right, here we go then. Left lock, nice and quiet. Right lock, nice and quiet. Oh, suspension banging gone. Next up, engine road test. So going on a bit of a road test now. Quite frankly, obviously I need to road test the car, but I also really would like some bubble tea. And so far the engine feels good. The engine feels more powerful than before. That is good. So I do that pull usually every day on the way to work. And what normally happens is like a leap in the revs. The revs kind of run away from the speed, almost like a clutch was slipping, but the clutch isn't slipping. You just over boost and over rev, and that hasn't now. The revs moved and the speed moved. That's a really promising sign, and it feels a bit more responsive, and that makes a lot of sense if you think about it, because it's no longer got a crack in the intake manifold. But on top of that, the suspension sounds good. There's no bangs, there's no knocks or anything like that. That was a pothole. There's no bangs, no knocks or anything like that, and no more twanging or banging or anything like that. This is a big pothole here. So I'm happy that the suspension has been resolved, and I'm fairly sure, touch wood, that the engine running problem has been resolved now as well. I can hear a bit of metal scraping from the front. There's that noise, if you can hear it or not. It's definitely kind of scraping. It's not the end of the world. It sounds the end of the... Oh, that's really bad. People are watching. People are staring. I'm gonna have to fix that. And it's a blue bin tonight as well then. Very good, very good. So I'll deal with that tomorrow, because it is beginning to spit, and I really cannot be bothered today now. I want some bubble tea. I want to road test this car. I need to get it up to temperature. So if you enjoyed this video, enjoyed this kind of stuff, there's the subscribe button on the page. Feel free to drop me a subscribe, don't cost you anything, and help support the channel. And if you want to watch something else I've done, there's a video floating around here somewhere where I had to put an engine into a Renault Clio and I tried to sell it for some profit. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.